This was my Ferrari 360. Until a few months ago, it tried to kill me on the freeway, and now it's in pieces across my garage while I try to bring it back to life. Most of you watching probably came here to see me rebuild the twin-turbo 300ZX, but a lot of you wondered about the Ferrari sitting quietly in the background of all those videos. But the truth is, I was starting to think this thing was cursed. But instead of giving up on it, I decided to give it another chance. But before we dive into it, let me show you the reality of everything I've been through with this 25-year-old Ferrari. In May of 2024, I finally bought my poster car, a 2000 Ferrari 360. I thought I got an amazing deal. I paid only $66,000 because it had some really questionable mods and lacked a documented maintenance history. But the bad luck didn't even wait for me to leave the dealership. While the lot jockey was pulling it out of the showroom, unbeknownst to me, he clipped the wall as I waited for it out front. I didn't have a clue, so I drove home with a smile on my face. When I got home, I finally saw the damage. I was devastated. I should have walked away at this moment, but I didn't. The dealership picked it back up, and while they fixed it, they gave me this 458 to play around with. I eventually got the car back, and it looked like nothing had happened. But the problems didn't stop there. Almost immediately, it threw a check engine light, a suspension error, and the interior was falling apart. And that's when the reality of owning a 25-year-old Italian supercar finally set in. I stuck with it, I started fixing the check engine light, I even started modifying it. And I drove the piss out of this car all the time. But the last time I drove this car ended in the shoulder lane of the freeway after the rear wheels locked up and I spun out. And that brings us to today, where we finally end the curse of the Ferrari 360 and fix it once and for all. Since the wheels were locked up, we got it on some dollies and pushed it into the garage. And it didn't take me long to figure out what happened. Once I opened up the coolant tank and I saw this, I knew exactly what happened. This car has a heat exchanger, which means it uses the engine coolant to cool down the transmission fluid. And like every other car with a heat exchanger, they fail, and when they do, they destroy everything in its path. So this transmission is definitely coming out. But to get started, I have to get the under tray off. And unless you have a proper 2-post lift, this is a terrible task for any DIYer. There's a ton of fasteners that hold it in, and when you finally have them off, you have to prop one wheel off to be able to fully slide it out. Once I had the under tray off, I put my quick jacks under and got the car in the air. This is by far one of the best additions to my garage. It makes working on these cars at home so much easier. From there, I pull the wheels off so that I can get access to the fender liners to give me access to remove the bumper. When I got the passenger wheel off, I realized I had a crazy flat spot on it, so I filled it back up with air, and hopefully this goes away by the time we finish. This is a much simpler process than the 300ZX just because there's a lot less fasteners holding it in. However, it is very heavy. The crash bar is built into it, so I wish I had a second person to help me get this off, but here we are. I also figured I need to remove the rear grille as well, which is just held in with a few nuts and the harness for the tail lights. Now we have easy access to the engine bay, and it'll make it a lot easier to remove the exhaust. This exhaust has only been in here for about a year, which is great because many times when you work on a car, dealing with the rusty exhaust bolts is one of the most frustrating parts. With the exhaust out of the way, I can dive into taking out the airbox. Next, we can attack the upper frame. Not only will this give us better access to get the transmission out, but the top of it is mounted to this frame. I first removed the rear mounts of the frame and then loosened the transmission mount. The other purpose of this frame is so much stuff is routed under and around it to give it that perfectly tucked engine bay look. It took some very strategic twisting and turning, but I finally got the frame out of the way and out of the car. I thought with the progress I was making, it would start to look easier, but the engine bay was looking much worse. But now I could start draining what was left of the fluids. As you can see, a bunch of coolant flowed out, and then the thick milkshake followed, as well as some metal shavings. The engine oil actually flows through the transmission casing, so I had to drain that as well. I was absolutely shocked at how much oil this thing holds. And while I was down here, I figured I might as well pull the starter out as well. One of the few things left holding the gearbox in is the F1 actuator. I pulled the 7mm bolts that hold it in and pried it off and set it aside. From there, I pulled the bolts holding the axles in, and it was pretty much ready to come out. I spent some time pulling and wiggling trying to get the gearbox out, but it wouldn't budge. Finally, I got an invaluable tip from Preston. You can follow him on Instagram, but I moved the jack under the engine. It counterbalanced everything, and I was able to pull it out. It's honestly crazy. I never knew what it would take to own one of these as a kid, and I sure as heck never imagined tearing one down like this and pulling the tranny out. With the transmission out, I tried to spin the input shaft, and it's still completely locked, as you can see. And that makes me really concerned about my clutch because it's virtually brand new. It had less than 1,000 miles on it, and it was changed about 1.5 years ago. And if the input shaft is locked up, that doesn't give me a lot of hope that it survived. But when I pulled the transmission, I didn't smell any burnt clutch. And from what I can remember, I turned the car off almost immediately after the crash because I saw smoke. And I don't remember smelling any burnt clutch then either. So I do have some hope that it might have survived, but there's only one way to find out. To remove the clutch, we have to remove the ring gear that the starter uses. It's held in with 6 bolts, and once I pull that off, I now have access to the bolts that hold the pressure plate in and can remove it. And when I finally got this thing off, you can see the amount of heat that this thing took. There's hot spots all over it. And then I pulled the clutch off, and you can see the same thing. It's got some glazing all over it, and the flywheel looks no different. So I know with the flywheel that you can resurface those, but I'm not sure what to do with this clutch and the pressure plate. So if you know anything about these things, let me know down in the comments what you think I should do. Should I go all brand new, or should I try to reuse these ones? And then for the transmission, since it won't turn at all, I'm thinking we're gonna need a new one because I have a feeling when we open this up, there's gonna be some bad carnage. But the problem is when I looked on eBay, a 4-parts transmission runs about $3,000 or $4,000, and a rebuilt one is upwards of $15,000. And that's where Italian Design and Race comes into the picture. They're out in Fountain Hills, Arizona, and they reached out to me and they said they had a couple options to help with the channel. So I took a trip down there and I met Michael Carpenter. Him and his father own IDR, and these guys know Ferraris through and through. He gave me a tour of his shop, and there were so many different cool cars. But at the end of his shop tour, he had 2 options for me. One was a transmission that went through the same thing mine did, but it still turned over and went through all the gears, but it was gonna need a full rebuild because it was filled with coolant. The other one, which was much more interesting, was a transmission that had a crack in the case. And for those of you that don't know, the engine oil actually flows through the outer casing of the transmission, and this is where the crack was. So that car actually had an engine failure because it lost its engine oil, not its transmission oil. And the best part, he was willing to sell this to me for only $1,200 to help out with the channel. And so for me, this was the only option that gave me the chance to have a fully rebuilt transmission for $1,200. So I'm taking the risk. I gave the man the money, we loaded up into my truck, and when I got home, I figured I was gonna need some help unloading it, but then I remembered who I was. My ancestors literally built the pyramid, so we muscled this thing onto my workbench by myself. Now in the next episode, we're gonna pull apart both of these transmissions and we're gonna figure out what locked mine up. And then we're also gonna take a look inside of the Gamble transmission. And we're gonna see if it's possible to switch the gears and the internals from that one into my good case and make one good transmission. I don't have any experience inside of transmissions, but we're gonna figure it out. So if you wanna see all of that unfold, make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.
Just a boy who was raised by the sea, finding out what this life could be. Well, I took my turn and I felt the burn. Now I'm banged up and on my knees.